when you have that luxury, you never want to see Sidney Crosby go down. Obviously, that goes without saying. But because you have that luxury and you have that flexibility in your lineup, and that player was Nick Suzuki. So you have Crosby, Stone, and Marner doing the checking, the great two-way play. You just insert Nick Suzuki over there with Mitch Marner and Mark Stone, and away you go. And not that you don't lose something by not having Crosby, but it becomes a little less obvious because Nick Suzuki is so good. And certainly you have that opportunity. Nick gets in there, takes advantage of that opportunity. Just a great play on the tying goal. And then we see in overtime what Mitch Marner does.
Canada was seconds away from elimination when one shot flipped the entire Olympic tournament. The crowd was tense. The bench was silent. Then Nick Suzuki stepped in and delivered the goal that kept Canada alive. With Sidney Crosby injured and the season on the line, everything changed in a single moment. But what led to that play shocked even veteran analysts. Nick Suzuki scored the game-tying goal that saved Canada from elimination in the 2026 Winter Olympics men's hockey quarterfinal against Czechia. Canada trailed 3-2 late in the third period. Time was running out. The tournament was close to ending for the Canadian team. Czechia had controlled key stretches of the game. Canada struggled to break through during earlier periods. The pressure increased in the final minutes of regulation. Canada needed one goal to stay alive. Without it, their Olympic run would end in the quarterfinal. Canada survived an overtime thriller with the Czechs to reach the men's semis. That survival became possible because of Suzuki's late goal in regulation. The puck crossed the line and tied the game 3-3. That goal forced overtime and gave Canada another chance to advance. The situation became more serious earlier in the game when Sidney Crosby left the ice after suffering an injury. Reports confirmed he missed practice following the match. Bolavip reported that Team Canada gave Crosby privacy while he dealt with the injury and that he was not ruled out. His absence increased pressure on the rest of the lineup. With Crosby out, minutes were redistributed. Suzuki saw more responsibility in key situations. He played critical shifts late in the third period. Canada increased offensive pressure as time moved down. The team pushed the puck deep into Czechia's zone and searched for an opening. Sportsnet described the win as Canada having survived a scare versus Czechia. The scare came from trailing late in a knockout game. Elimination games at the Olympics do not allow second chances. The scoreboard does not reset. Canada needed one play to change everything. That play came from Suzuki. Positioned in front of the net, he capitalized on the scoring opportunity. The puck entered the net and tied the contest. The arena responded instantly. The Canadian bench stood up. The game continued, but the elimination threat had been paused. NHL confirmed the final score as 4-3 in overtime. Suzuki's goal tied the game in regulation. Mitch Marner later scored the overtime winner to secure advancement. However, overtime only happened because Suzuki forced it with his third period goal. The official record shows Canada trailing late, Suzuki tying the game, and Canada winning in overtime. The quarterfinal ended with Canada advancing to the semifinal round. Without that regulation goal, Canada's Olympic tournament would have ended that night, and the pressure surrounding the team was only beginning to build. Overtime began because Nick Suzuki tied the game in regulation. The score was 3-3 after 60 minutes. Canada had avoided elimination by one goal. The pressure shifted into a sudden death format, where the next goal would decide who advanced to the Olympic semifinal. NHL confirmed that Canada defeated Czechia 4-3 in overtime. The official recap recorded Mitch Marner as the player who scored the game-winning goal. That goal secured Canada's place in the semifinal round. However, the overtime period would not have existed without Suzuki's equalizer late in the third. Oilers Nation reported that Canada advanced after defeating Czechia 4-3. The article identified Suzuki's regulation goal as a turning point in the match. Before that goal, Czechia was positioned to advance. Reported that Nick Suzuki and Mitch Marner scored goals that saved Canada from an early Olympic exit. The phrasing confirms the stakes of the moment. Canada faced elimination. The late equalizer changed the outcome of the tournament bracket. The quarterfinal format at the Olympics allows no recovery after a loss. One defeat ends medal hopes. Canada entered the third period trailing. The final score in regulation before Suzuki's goal was was 3-2 in favor of Czechia. That scoreline placed Canada at risk of elimination. Suzuki's goal officially tied the game 3-3. The scoring summary credited him with the equalizer in the third period. The game advanced to overtime. Marner scored the winning goal, and Canada secured a 4-3 victory. Canada moved on to the semi-final round because of that sequence. The official record shows the timing of the tying goal and the overtime winner. The progression from trailing late to advancing occurred within minutes. The scoreboard confirmed the change, and the tournament continued for Canada under rising pressure surrounding Crosby's status and the next matchup.
We're with Bruce Boudreau and Frankie Corrado. Guys, Mitch Marner with another signature moment for Team Canada. Bruce, just how wild was that finish?
I'll tell you what, these are the kind of games where your heart can't take it. You're cheering for a team so much, and it's going back and forth. And when Mitch Marner made the play, it's so totally Mitch. It doesn't look like anything's going on. Then all of a sudden, a deke here, a move there, top right corner, and it was a great goal. We've seen it before. We've seen it in overtime in the past with Mitch Marner, but you could feel Canada lifting up when that happened. So it was a great relief.
The entire country.
Yeah.
Sudden silence turned into instant celebration. Mitch Marner stepped into open ice and ended Canada's Olympic quarterfinal without warning. One shot decided everything. The threat of elimination disappeared in a moment. The goal sent Canada forward and shifted the pressure across the tournament. But that single play carried more meaning than just a win.
Well, and think about it. Canada needs someone to step up. Sidney Crosby wasn't in the game anymore. Celebrini and McDavid, they were unbelievable. McKinnon felt like he was going, but you needed someone else. And now, can I say that's big game Mitch Marner, the guy who has faced so much scrutiny throughout the course of his career for what he hasn't done in the playoffs as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and now on the international stage delivering. Overtime winner at the Four Nations.
Mitch Marner delivered the decisive goal in overtime to push Canada past Czechia in the Olympic quarterfinal. The game had reached sudden death play after both teams remained locked at the end of regulation. With the season on the line and no room for error, Marner finished the contest during the opening stretch of overtime. The overtime format reduced the number of players on the ice. That created wider lanes and quicker rushes. Marner used that space to move into scoring position. Once he released the shot, the puck crossed the line and officials confirmed the goal. The contest ended immediately under sudden death rules. The win advanced Canada into the semifinal round. A loss would have ended its medal pursuit. Instead, the team moved forward in the bracket. The result shifted preparation toward the next opponent and kept Canada in position to compete for gold. Reports from ESPN confirmed that the goal came early in overtime and officially sealed the victory. Reuters described the outcome as Canada surviving a tense quarterfinal to reach the semifinal. The official scoring summary listed Marner as the player who ended the game. The matchup had remained tight throughout regulation. Neither side created a large separation on the scoreboard. Canada had to respond during key stretches to avoid elimination. The tie forced overtime and set up the decisive sequence. The timing of the goal also placed Marner into Olympic history discussion. Newsweek reported that his overtime winner marked the fastest overtime goal in Olympic hockey during the NHL participation era. That record became part of the official tournament data after the game concluded. Earlier in the same quarterfinal, Canada faced another challenge when captain Sidney Crosby left with a lower body injury. His departure required changes in forward lines and special teams units. Marner remained active in the offensive rotation as overtime began. NBC Olympics coverage noted that Canada escaped a difficult contest and confirmed that Marner's strike secured the semifinal berth. The goal prevented what would have been an early exit for one of the tournament favorites. The official result moved Canada into a semi-final meeting with Finland. Preparation time remained short between games. The overtime finish added physical strain to both teams, but Canada advanced while Czechia's tournament ended. Marner's role in the elimination round became the defining storyline of the night. The official box score recorded his goal as the final action of the game. With that play, Canada's Olympic campaign continued and the bracket shifted accordingly. The impact of of Marner's goal extended beyond the final whistle. The quarterfinal carried elimination stakes, and the overtime format meant that one play would decide everything. When Marner scored, Canada's path in the tournament changed immediately. The semi-final opponent was Finland. The turnaround between games remained short under the Olympic schedule. Teams must prepare quickly following overtime contests. Canada advanced, but the workload from extended play remained part of the physical demand. Another factor shaped the context of the win. Earlier in the game, captain Sidney Crosby exited with a lower body injury and did not return. His absence required line changes before overtime began. Despite that adjustment, Canada maintained its offensive pressure. Marner stayed in the forward rotation and became the player who finished the contest. Newsweek reported that the timing of the overtime winner set a record in Olympic hockey during the NHL participation era. The official statistic attached Marner's name to that mark. That detail became part of tournament history and remained documented in Olympic records. NBC Olympics coverage described the victory as Canada surviving a close contest. The report confirmed that the decisive play came in overtime and immediately ended the match. The official scoring sheet listed Marner as the game-winning scorer, and the result placed Canada among the final four teams. The bracket shifted once the goal was recorded. Czechia's campaign concluded with the overtime loss. Canada continued forward with a semi-final berth secured. There was no shootout. There was no extended delay. The sudden death format meant that one successful attempt settled the outcome. Marner's overtime goal stands in the official record as the play that advanced Canada beyond the quarterfinal stage. The tournament structure moved ahead, and Canada remained in contention for a medal.
With Frankie Corrado, Frankie, Brad Marchand watched Canada's last two games from up in the seats due to injury, but John Cooper said he'll be back in the lineup for the quarterfinals.
Cleared. Confirmed. Back in the lineup. Brad Marchand is officially returning to Team Canada just as the Olympic knockout stage begins. After missing 2 straight games, his sudden clearance has changed the quarterfinal picture. Coaches stayed quiet. Practices continued behind closed doors. Now the decision is final, and what this means for Canada's medal push is only starting to unfold. Brad Marchand will play in Canada's Olympic quarterfinal game in Milan. Head coach John Cooper confirmed that Marchand will be in the quarters, according to the Hockey News. That statement ended days of uncertainty about his status. Marchand had missed 2 group stage games but continued to practice with the team during that time. Canada completed the preliminary round with a perfect 3-0 record. The team defeated Czechia in its opening game. Marchand played limited minutes in that matchup and recorded 1 assist. After that, he did not dress against Switzerland. He also did not play in Canada's final group game, direct path to the quarterfinals. Sidney Crosby recorded multiple points in that game. The offense scored consistently across all 3 periods. Marchand watched from the sidelines as teammates closed out the group stage. Reports describe Marchand's absence as precautionary. He was not listed as a long-term injury case. He participated in team practices and skated in full gear. No public details were released about a specific injury. The Times of India reported that he had been cleared for Team Canada's Olympic quarterfinal return after injury concern. The 2026 Winter Olympics mark the first time since 2014 that NHL players are competing in the games. Canada's roster includes established NHL veterans and top scorers. Marchand brings more than 1,000 NHL games of experience. He has over 900 career points and more than 300 goals in regular season play. He also won a Stanley Cup with the Boston Bruins. With elimination games beginning, roster spots become tighter. Olympic rules limit the number of dressed skaters. Marchand's return means another forward will sit. Reports have mentioned lineup decisions involving players such as Nick Suzuki. Final combinations will appear on the official game sheet before puck drop. Canada now moves into single elimination play. 1 loss ends medal hopes. Marchand's confirmed return adds depth at a critical stage, and the quarterfinal lineup decision carries even more weight now. Marchand's NHL record shows long-term production and durability. He has played more than 1,000 regular season games. He has scored over 300 goals and recorded more than 900 career points. In the Stanley Cup playoffs, he has appeared in more than 140 games. He was part of Boston's 2011 Stanley Cup championship team. Internationally, he represented Canada at the 2016 World Cup of Hockey and scored in the tournament final. Canada's Olympic roster features veteran leaders such as Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid. Both logged major minutes during the preliminary round. Crosby recorded multiple points points against France. McDavid played in all 3 group games. Marchand's return adds another experienced winger who has played in high-pressure playoff games. Olympic tournament rules limit dressed skaters to 12 forwards and 6 defensemen per game. Because Marchand is returning, 1 forward must be scratched. Reports reference lineup considerations involving Nick Suzuki, though no final decision was publicly announced at the time of confirmation. Official line combinations will be known only when the game sheet is released before the quarterfinal. This Olympic tournament in Milan marks the first games with NHL participation since Sochi 2014. The league paused its season to allow players to compete. Canada entered the event as one of the top-seeded teams based on roster depth and experience. The group stage results supported that standing. Marchand's clearance now shifts attention to deployment. Coaches will decide his ice time, line placement, and special teams usage before puck drop. The quarterfinal begins a new phase, and the final roster choices will define Canada's next step in the medal round.
Sidney Crosby is aging like a fine wine.
Offensively, defensively, through the neutral zone, best player in the game.
I'm telling you, the best winner right now, Sidney Crosby.
Welcome to the Crosby Show, Canada. Slap me, silly, Sidney.
From Rimouski in the Quebec Major Junior League, Sidney Crosby.
Sidney Crosby has already broken American hearts once at the Olympics. 16 years after the golden goal, he is back on the Olympic stage in 2026. Canada has speed. Canada has scoring. But the most important piece of this gold medal run might still be number 87. Sidney Crosby may be Canada's secret weapon for Olympic gold. Team Canada has opened the 2026 tournament with a perfect 3-0 record in the group stage. They secured first place in Group A, including a decisive 5-1 win over Switzerland. Connor McDavid and Nathan MacKinnon have driven the offense. Jordan Binnington has been steady in goal. The NHL stars have returned to Olympic competition for the first time since 2014, and Canada looks deep. But beneath the speed and scoring is something less obvious. Crosby scored his 6th career Olympic goal in the win over Switzerland. It was his first Olympic goal in 12 years. The moment-connected era, from Vancouver to Sochi to Milano Cortina. While McDavid leads the rush and MacKinnon pushes the pace, Crosby controls the rhythm. That difference matters in tournament hockey. The Olympic format is short. There are no 7-game series. There is no time to adjust after multiple losses. One elimination game can end a gold medal run. In that environment, experience becomes critical. Crosby understands this structure better than most players in the tournament. In 2010, he scored the overtime winner against the United States to secure gold on home ice. In 2014, he captained Canada through a disciplined, defensively dominant tournament in Sochi. Those runs were not built on speed alone. They were built on control. At 2026, Canada has speed in abundance. McDavid may be the fastest player in the world with the puck. MacKinnon's north-south power forces defenders to retreat, but speed without control can become chaotic under pressure. Crosby provides the control. Face-offs are one example. In elimination games, defensive zone draws late in periods carry enormous weight. Crosby's career face-off percentage and his reliability in key situations reduce extended defensive pressure. Winning possession immediately after a whistle limits chaos. Puck protection is another factor. Crosby's ability to shield the puck along the boards buys time for line changes and resets. In tight Olympic games, that small advantage compounds over 60 minutes. Leadership inside the locker room is less visible but equally important. Canada's roster includes generational talents in McDavid and MacKinnon, but neither has won Olympic gold with a full NHL field. Crosby has done it twice. That credibility shapes preparation. The 2026 team blends youth and experience. McDavid drives the offense. MacKinnon generates high shot volume. But when momentum shifts, the bench looks to veterans. In short tournaments, emotional swings can derail structure. Crosby's calm presence reduces that risk. Through 3 group games, Canada has not trailed for extended periods. They have dictated tempo early, but knockout rounds present a different test. The United States remains unbeaten in its group. Sweden plays structured defensive hockey. Finland thrives in tight games. Canada's power play has operated efficiently in the group stage. McDavid and MacKinnon control the half wall. Crosby often positions near the goal line or net front, creating passing angles and screening goaltenders. His awareness in tight spaces extends possession and opens lanes. On the penalty kill, Crosby reads passing lanes and anticipates rebound. Olympic games often swing on special teams. Veteran anticipation and reduces breakdown. Jordan Binnington has been steady through the group stage, but goaltending always carries uncertainty in short tournaments. If a game tightens late, leadership on the bench becomes critical. Crosby's communication with line mates and defensemen reinforces structure shift by shift. Another factor is tournament pacing. The Olympic schedule compresses games into short windows. Fatigue builds quickly. Crosby's style relies less on raw speed and more on positioning and anticipation. That efficiency preserves energy over multiple rounds. Canada's 3-0 start signals strong preparation. The 5-1 win over Switzerland highlighted offensive depth. McDavid recorded 3 points. McKinnon recorded 3 points. Secondary scoring contributed, but beneath the numbers, the team maintained defensive shape. That balance reflects veteran influence. The return of NHL participation elevates the overall talent level of the tournament. The gap between contenders narrows. Sweden, Finland, and the United States all bring elite players. In that environment, marginal advantages matter. Crosby's Olympic experience is one of those margins. He understands that Canada has shown speed, scoring depth, and defensive structure. As the tournament shifts into knockout rounds, those strengths remain essential. But in Olympic history, Canada's gold medal runs have often been defined by composure in defining moments. In 2010, it was Crosby finishing the tournament. In 2014, it was Crosby captaining a disciplined roster. In 2026, it may be Crosby guiding a new generation through pressure. McDavid drives the attack. McKinnon fuels the tempo. Binnington guards the net. And Sidney Crosby, once again, may be the steady force that turns talent into gold.
Canada opens their chase for Olympic gold with a 5-0 win over Czechia. And here to talk about it is Marty Biron. So, Marty, right off the bat, what was the biggest reason for this